All right, part 4 of day 7. This really should be the last part. I don't have that much to say yet. But I was in the middle of gushing about how excited I am about the change in my back. That was just so simple and quick. And I was saying that, what was I saying? I'm recapping what I said more for me than for you because you're probably watching these all in a row. But the stretching, I think maybe I was talking about, that I could stretch better and I could move better. I can feel how different movements that when I thought that I had lost muscle strength was actually because of these nerve impingements, and still seem to have plenty of actual strength. Not that, I mean, there definitely are ways that now I can work the muscles and strengthen them that they haven't been strengthened before, but that it wasn't at its heart a muscle strength problem. And yeah, I even just like when I sit down, there's all these different things I do with my back to adjust for the discomfort that I find myself automatically doing them, and then I'm like, oh, that feels goofy now. I have to sit straight, I have to sit normal because otherwise the goofy thing hurts, and I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. And this is something that if you've had any body problems at all or been around somebody, is that a lot of times a lot of the problems you have are actually because you're compensating for something else. So in your attempt to compensate, you actually cause more problems and more misalignments and tension and things like that. But not that it's the injured person's fault. It's that's how the body works. Like, it's always trying to readjust and reestablish equilibrium. And there's a word I can't think of. But it's constantly trying to find a normal, an equilibrium, and balance everything out. And so if you're not using your body the way it's supposed to be used, it will compensate in lots of ways to readjust everything to function in some kind of harmony, even if it's to be equally disharmonious, I guess. So yeah, now it's just sitting here. It's amazing. And this, I think, is what I was saying at the end, is that I can feel tension, especially like in those crotch muscles that holds you in a sitting position. But I also can tell that it's not building, which it normally, as soon as I sit down, starts being uncomfortable, and it builds and builds and builds and builds. And it's not building, it's just the old stuff that needs time to drain away and work out and all that stuff. And I think one good night's rest will certainly go a long way in helping that. But also being able to move properly and stretch properly is definitely going to help a lot. So I just can't even say enough how happy I am about that. So then he continued. He started with my legs, did feet, toes, everything checked out once he corrected the thing in my lower back. Then I sat up and he did, while I was laying down, he did some neck stuff too, like where I had to move my head, and there were just a bunch of areas. I don't remember everything he did. Everything checked out though, just totally fine. Then he did the arms. Everything was great in my arms, and my hands were pretty good, except this was really unexpected. I'm right-handed, so my right arm and hand I have a lot of pain in pretty much constantly. That's my really big problem. This is actually one of the first problems I ever started having, is pain in the right arm. Then I do get pain in my left arm, but it's not nearly as bad. And there's weakness in my left hand, but I'm right-handed, so I didn't really question what seemed like weakness. So some of the tests he did, he found that one of them is I would hold my hand like this, and he would do checking the strength between all the fingers and stuff, and I had nothing. It was like jelly. He would just push my fingers around. This side was totally fine. Didn't have any problems like that. I mean, your fingers do move. There isn't you can't just not move them, but there was enough pressure that you could see very obviously that there wasn't a problem with those, but that this one, there was no resistance. So then he did a few other little finger things that I would do, and he would push one way or another, and both hands doing this, I was supposed to be able to hold the pinky and thumb together, and I couldn't. And he said, okay, you have carpal tunnel in both wrists, and something worse in the left hand than what's in the right hand. did all the checking out that he does and found that it was some cervical nerves and discs. And the way he corrected it was he took the percussor, started over here, shoved it in the right side, basically kind of at my throat. He wasn't touching the throat, but that's where he was going that way to get at what he needed to get at. Did a little bit over there, went over, and this side was much more tender. Did it over here, checked it out again. He had to do it over here a little bit more. Then he's like, okay, rechecked, everything was good, and that was it. And I was like, oh my gosh. It was another moment of excitement like that, where it's like, oh, this time of, I specifically remember when that pain started. I was working at Jellystone, and I started working there in 2001, and it was by the end of that summer that I developed really terrible problems. I worked at a computer and on a phone and stuff, so not that it was the job's fault, but whatever was wrong was already wrong, and then that job aggravated it, and I tried different things. I went to chiropractors. There's just so many things I've done, and the problem's still there, and so it's just like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy to have that done, and there's definitely more to do. Things that I know still need to be done in my back and things like that, but oh my gosh, I'm so happy, I'm so excited. It's like, I don't even have words for that. I feel like my tone even isn't nearly conveying how happy I am that these steps forward have been made. And even if I need some tweaking or some recorrection down the line, I know that it's correctable. It's not something I have to live with forever and just be in pain and be miserable and get through it. It's so awesome. So let me check my notes. That's all I can remember offhand. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Like I said, he checked all over, all kinds of things, shoulders. He did some releasing really quick. He just touched in here, touched back here to release something, and just tested all over. And really, what was really on top of how awesome the progress was, what was really encouraging was to know how little was actually wrong. And so, or I shouldn't say wrong, but not quite right. So yeah, it was definitely a good day, and I'm looking forward to having the weekend off. At the beginning of all this, I was like, man, I'm not going to want to take 2 days off and just sit here or whatever, but definitely ready physically, because all this detoxing is exhausting. It's kind of funny because even you're just sitting there relaxing, but it's like, man, all this relaxing is so exhausting because you're not, your body's not really relaxing. Your body is really being worked overtime, and so it's been worked overtime anyway in sickness. So to switch over to working overtime into healing is a great switch and definitely feels good, but it's still exhausting. So I'm really glad to have the weekend off physically and mentally. I'm actually not somebody who gets cabin fever very easily, but I do feel like I'm ready to do something, to have a change of scenery other than the hotel room and the Hansa Center. So I'm going to try to get out to just see a few things tomorrow and then rest on Sunday and be back at it on Monday. So, yeah, stay tuned for the next update. Hope you are well.